Troy and I were watching television the other night. One of those detective shows came on, and the bad guy was played by Dennis Stewart, who we know as Craterface from the movie Grease.
Pinks, you punk. Pink slips, ownership papers.
Dennis Stewart was in a lot of television programs and in a few movies before he passed away, and most famously was the movie Grease, where he played the bad guy. His unfortunate skin condition actually worked to his advantage, or he took full advantage of it.
Okay, give me your name. Tom Cooter. Wait. Hey.
And I found this card that I had from a million years ago, a Grease trading card. And I decided that I would do a little bit of a video about Dennis Stewart. I profiled him on findadeath.com, God, probably 20 years ago. And it's well out of date. And it's short because there's not a whole lot about Dennis Stewart on the internet. So we went to pay our respects the other day at Rose Hills Memorial Park and just did this little profile. And I also reached out to Eddie Deezen, who played Eugene in Grease.
What's your name? I want you. It's Eugene. You're a great picture. Oh, thank you.
I met Eddie a few times over the years, and he told me a great story about Dennis Stewart and when they worked together in Grease. And I asked him to repeat it for us today, so you'll see Eddie Deezen as well. So today's video is about Dennis C. Stewart, Dennis Cleveland Stewart, Craterface from Grease.
Hi, this is a video from my pal Scott. This is Eddie Deezen. I played Eugene in Grease. I first met Dennis. I was on Grease, okay? It was my first movie. I was 20 years old. Scott, I would take the bus every day. I think it took me 2 buses. I'd go from my apartment on Edgemont and Hollywood Boulevard. I have to go to Paramount Studios, which is down on Melrose. It'd take me either 2 or 3 buses. I would schlep there every morning. You know, movies, we'd have an early call. It was like 6 in the morning. So I'd have to get up at like 4 in the morning, catch 2 or 3 buses and go to the studio. And then I'd catch the buses home. Anyway, one day I'm in makeup and I'm talking about taking the buses there. I swear to God, the first time I talked to Dennis C. Stewart, he goes, "What, Eddie, you take the bus to the studio every day?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Not anymore. I'm giving you a ride." That was his exact words. "Not anymore. I'm going to give you a ride," he said. So every day, Dennis would pick me up, take me to the studio. After we finished shooting, he'd take me home from Grease. That's the kind of guy he was. His face belied what he was. He had this crater face. He looked like a villain, but he was the sweetest, nicest, friendliest guy in the world. And everybody loved him. We all loved Dennis. He didn't dance in Grease. I think that was just the Rydell students. Oh yeah, Dennis, he gets like the fight on the dance floor, but
Dennis also appeared as a dancer in the 1978 film Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band in the scene where Steve Martin sings Maxwell's Silver Hammer. Several years ago, I had a friend of Dennis's on my tour who used to hang around with Dennis quite a lot in the 80s around Los Angeles. Dennis was gay, as was my friend, and it's relevant to the point of this video. One place in particular they hung out was called Basic Plumbing. There was a term for places like this, and they called them bathhouses, kind of social clubs for people. A lot of times there were, saunas or swimming pools where people would congregate around the pools. Now, in this case, Basic Plumbing, the address was 725 North Fairfax. It was considered a dry bathhouse, which means it was just a social club for gay people. The address, 725 North Fairfax, might sound familiar to some of you. It was the address of Jay Sebring's salon. In 1978, Basic Plumbing, the bathhouse, took over that location until it closed in the 80s. I asked Eddie if people on the set of Grease were aware of Dennis's personal life, and this is what he told me.
No, we did not. This was a different age. His being gay, I had no idea. There were a lot of gay dancers, but it was a different age. I was 20. It was not part of my world. We didn't talk about it in those days. It wasn't, this was 1977. So we didn't talk, and it did not come up, and he never mentioned it. So it wasn't my business.
He could be himself amongst his friends, and I don't think he thought it was necessary to need to share that fact that he was gay with the public. Plus, it wouldn't have done his career any favors. At some point, Dennis contracted HIV. According to a friend who posted on Instagram, Dennis was understandably devastated but tried to remain upbeat. He still loved to hang out with friends and laugh for hours, and he loved to go out to the bars and dance. He was a great dancer. And according to his friend, Dennis was cautious. Eventually, the HIV became full-blown AIDS. As I understand it, he moved in with his sister in Anaheim, California. Eventually, Dennis was moved to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where he succumbed on April 20th of 1994. He died at 9 a.m., and his cause of death is listed as cardiorespiratory arrest, cerebritis with encephalitis, and finally, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS. It states that he had full-blown AIDS for 10 months. He was only 46 years old.
I found out he died. I think my neighbor Marvin told me. Dennis was the first cast member to die. He was the first student to die. And I think he was younger than, he died in 1994. He was the first of any of the cast to die in Grease. The poor guy was only 46 and he got a bad break. And we all miss him. He was a wonderful guy.
Christmas Day, we're at Rose Hill Cemetery. You can see, if you look closely, you'll see the Rose Hill sign up there. As an aside, Rose Hill Cemetery opened in 1914, and it claims to be the largest cemetery in North America. For perspective, here's an early photograph of the cemetery, and you could see the sign in the distance. Sign up there. And came to find Dennis's grave. Dennis was cremated by the Neptune Society, which led everyone to believe that his cremains or remains would be scattered at sea. But ultimately his family had him buried at Rose Hills Memorial Park. All right, there he is. There he is. Grease is the word. Look at that. Pretty cool. We're racing for pinks, you punk. Okay, here's a funny story. Just as I was about to make this video public, Eddie reached out again just a few minutes ago and told me about a strange coincidence that happened. After I requested the video from Eddie, he was ready to make the video and was just waiting for his manager, Steve, to come and work the camera. Eddie says when Steve got there an hour later, he told Steve about the video he was going to make for me, and the subject being Dennis Stewart. Eddie said that Steve gave him a weird look and asked, "Are you kidding me?" Steve then pulled open a bag with a gift he'd just bought for Eddie. It was a model of the car Dennis Stewart rode in the movie Grease, the car he rides in the race against John Travolta at Thunder Road. He said, "Steve and I just looked at each other." Cue Twilight Zone music.